Trump's RICO defendants getting booked today and this week at the Atlanta, Georgia jail. We've been showing you that. Trump slated to turn himself in tomorrow. His top lawyer's new mugshot came out late today. We've been covering that. The RICO prosecutor turned RICO defendant. Giuliani was bracing for this and emphatically discussed it in advance as a mugshot for a former prosecutor who, he drew attention to the fact, dished out that same process to others.
I'm going to Fulton County to comply with the law, which I always do. I don't know if I plead today, but if I do, I plead not guilty. And I get photographed. Isn't that nice? A mugshot for the man who probably put the worst criminals of the 20th century in jail.
That mugshot is now news tonight, broadcast on screens like this across TV, around the world, and definitely flying around the image-driven internet and social media, where the image you see here says so much. Because, as Giuliani understands thoroughly, he brought it up, there is something quite powerful about mugshots. Which brings us to our special report for you right now. Honestly, kind of a mix of the breaking news and a Beat special report, because we've been just getting in all of this as these people went in today to get booked. And we can kind of feel it, right? How these images immediately grab not only our attention, but something even more. The moment you see them, they capture the physical part of this process. The humanity, the booking, the arrest, the criminal evidence, the suspicion that faces defendants hauled in against their will for their mugshot. That rings true even if defendants are presumed innocent, and that is a legal matter for fairness. But Giuliani was openly bracing for this, seemingly upset about it because he knows the impact. Mugshots date back to at least the 1850s in America, a formal way to track and document suspects and defendants. Now, those people could be obscure or random, or they could be quite known in their community, or they could be famous, a point that, of course, predates Donald Trump, because authorities have taken mugshots of supremely famous people. We pulled this for you today as a very factual reminder. You see some of them right here. I'll come back to this. But law enforcement have long said that choice reflects a deeper point, that even making the famous, who obviously are identifiable, sit for their mugshot, reflects the point that no one's above the law, as these RICO defendants may be learning or may be reminded of tonight. It is a point the Atlanta sheriff reiterated.
We are following our normal practices. And so it doesn't matter your status. We have mugshots ready for you.
Ready for you, a reference there to defendant Trump, who, in his other cases, has not been booked with a mugshot. So if the sheriff is right, and we will only know when it happens tomorrow, if it happens, but if they take defendant Trump's mugshot like his co-defendants, that would be another first for this former president defendant. But it is not the first time we have seen a president's aides face mugshots. Historian Michael Beschloss is reminding people of that and sharing this photo online of Nixon aides booked in the Watergate era. There are reports defendant Trump and his lawyers want to make this another primetime viewing event with a keen eye on spinning what would obviously be a terrible news day. Defendant Trump is not even unique on that score. Other politicians accused of crimes have tried to sort of outspin the visual of the booking process. Here are memorable examples of various deliberate smiles, smiling through the indignity or the pain. These are all booking shots you see. These are not like yearbook photos. And it's bipartisan. I'm showing you 2 Texas Republicans bookings and 1 North Carolina Democrat smiling in their mug shots. Indeed, Governor Rick Perry made a point after his booking of posting online a competing image to that day's mugshot, the governor eating ice cream, clearly to compete with the well-documented impression that a mugshot can make. Or beyond politics, the media-savvy mob boss John Gotti tried smiling for this infamous mugshot, taking the same effort to spin what is supposed to be a day of reckoning as some sort of thing to smile about, or perhaps to reflect a casualness or that he was above it. Now, Rick Perry and John Edwards, the politicians I mentioned, by the way, to be clear, were actually largely cleared of legal wrongdoing. A mugshot is not a conviction. Edwards beat back a pretty tough federal prosecutor at the time. His name was Jack Smith, the same Jack Smith prosecuting Trump in 2 cases right now. Now, today, Trump lawyer Jenna Ellis was seen in her new mugshot also taking that approach, smiling, which we've seen in some of these prominent examples, but is rare for most people's mugshots. Now, any of these defendants could be cleared of wrongdoing or convicted. So as the Trump defendants get their mugshot, they enter a pantheon of a system and a moment for you as a defendant that's always been a big deal no matter what happens afterward. That's true for RICO defendants, to white-collar crime, to El Chapo.
El Chapo now in the custody of the DEA.
Madoff promised investors abnormally high returns, but it was all a fraud.
Bulger has been incarcerated at Plymouth County Correctional Facility. He's accused of extortion, money laundering, and 19 counts of murder.
Just got the mugshot for former presidential hopeful John Edwards. This is incredible, right?
Simpson surrendered to police and was taken into custody.
That person is the Attorney General of the great state of Texas, and that is, in fact, his mugshot.
Mugshots are always a big deal in big cases. So while we hear some MAGA defendants misleadingly claim that there's alleged mistreatment or a deep state or they're being singled out, the record shows defendants in both parties and all kinds of defendants, here's a famous one, go through this, including even feared figures like the gangster Al Capone, or as mentioned, El Chapo Guzman, who was on the run for nearly 15 years, sometimes seeming above that apprehension, that mugshot, until he wasn't. And as mentioned, the famous and sometimes worshipped figures have been through this. Hendrix, Bowie, Cash, Jagger, Sinatra, Fonda, with the fist in the air, facing their public mugshots, even, I should mention, for sometimes quite minor offenses. Some of these pictures you see are for offenses that aren't even illegal in every state anymore, like pot possession. So that's the history for today's instantly historic mugshots. It feels significant because it is significant. Defendants long accused of lies and cheating now put through the same legal process as anyone else, even if some of them once led that process, even if some of them led the entire federal government recently. Now they are booked like anyone else with the images used to track suspects. The way that police use mugshots was explained clearly by 50 Cent, who famously had his own mugshot. There it is. Same spot where Rob got shot. The block's hot. Warrant squad flashing my mugshot, he said, because mugshots are used by the squad to find the suspects. And now prosecutors accuse Giuliani of stealing and cheating. And as it happens, some other lines from that same 50 Cent song apply. When you're rich, you smoke cohibas. Put me through any test, I'll pass because I'm a cheater. A cheater. The boast is cheaters pass and get away. And that can be true until it's not. As the mugshots show, the block is hot. So are the MAGA mugshots. And prosecutors say this time there's no cheating the accountability. It is now time to face the camera, face the facts, and face justice.